Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the Personnel Board's meeting for October 15th, 2019. I'd like to open up the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First order of business. Item number 1, minutes for September 17th, 2019. Has everybody had a chance to read them?
Yes. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of September 17th, 2019.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. We also have the minutes for a very short meeting we had on October 2nd, 2019. Everybody had a chance to read them? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of the meeting that was held on October 2nd, 2019.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Second order of business is comments from Richard Carmignani. We'll take you first so you can get back to the real world downstairs.
Comments. Where do we start? Everyone knows my assistant Lisa is moving on. I'd like to say we had a good run. I want to say a lot of this board was here when we hired her. By all accounts, it was a success, a new chapter in life, excellent. Last summer, Amanda came in when another employee left. Just as good a success. We've also, in the interim, moved Amanda up to Lisa's position, so now she's the assistant treasurer collector. One thing of note, we've already sent her to school for 1 year, so we're one step closer to getting her certified. So that's excellent. And I think the real reason we're here is to have the discussion about filling her position. I want to say, as part of the minutes, there was a policy change, and I think the posting of Lisa's position crossed with the policy change and everything. So let's take a minute and say thank you. From all accounts, the Personnel Board was very agreeable in organizing a change. We got a job posted ahead of the change from the Personnel Board. The intention was absolutely to be as efficient and productive as possible. The idea that one or more of the members were taken aback by that, absolutely not the intention at all. I like to say I have a good working relationship with everyone up here. I'd like that to continue. So if anybody received the wrong message for that, my apologies. The idea is keep the ball rolling, keep things moving well, keep positive. So if we hit a bump in the road, my apologies. Absolutely, we have policies in place, and the plan is to stick tight to them. But on a flip note, I am glad that a small change was made. It's a small accommodation, and after this round of hiring, I'd love to sit down with the Personnel Board and say what went well, what didn't go well, and make it a discussion for future hires, even if it's not my department at all. One little note, during this process, I'd love to provide feedback, probably at a later time, as far as what gets us the best results. And when I say us, I would dare say that whether the Treasurer Collector's Office is hiring, whether the water sewer, anyone, if I've learned something, happy to share it. If something didn't go as well, maybe we think about a different way of doing things. So as far as the resumes come in, I have the PDFs forwarded. Mr. Fox, you have them. Carol has them. I think I forwarded them to Mr. Ruda. We've got a whole bunch of great candidates. So I was privileged. Over the weekend, I had a chance to sort out a lot of good resumes. We went from awesome to perhaps not a perfect fit. So it's good. We have 6 that I'd like to move forward. Love to be able to get some interviews done. In the event the people we've selected have already accepted a job, we have a plan B. There is an alternate list, almost in order, so that the first 6 are sort of just that one homologous group of these are who we'd like to see, and then the second or first or second people in that next group. Because we would, if we're going to have interviews, I'd like to have a decent slate,
Okay, I'll bring you up to date quickly on what the process was. I believe there were like a total of 40?
30-something, yeah.
30-something applicants. The applications were all online. Carol gave me, and I believe, Joan, you had the password. Okay. I had told Rich that I would not review them because Rich was going to sort them down to the top 6 with some backups. I didn't feel it necessary that the board review almost 40 applications when he was going to pick his top picks anyway. I have not seen the 6. The board has not seen them. When would you want to conduct your interviews?
Thursday is not a bad day. If we could go through, and I wouldn't speak for all the 6 candidates, but I'd almost imagine they're working and probably wouldn't be showing up to an 8:30 or 9 o'clock interview. If we could have a few interviews, 3 or 4, maybe get them out of work early. Friday is a day I can't get anything done. If we can't get them done on a Thursday, maybe tomorrow, or we go into the other week.
Okay. What I would like you to do is, I'd like 2 members from the Personnel Board to review the 6 candidates. Would any 2 of you like to serve and review those 6? I can do it also. I cannot do it at 10 o'clock on Thursday, and that'll only be for about a half hour. I could do it before 10 o'clock, and I can do it 10:30 after.
Yep.
Would somebody like to participate?
I need to check.
I can, if Mary Beth can't.
Do you 2 want to do it? Or would you rather me be there?
I'd rather
For-
have you there.
You'd rather have me there?
For interviews or just for reviewing the candidates?
I'd like a chance to review the candidates so that we could prioritize them also.
Of course. There were paper copies on Carol's desk this morning, so
Okay.
I'd appreciate input from pretty much everyone.
I'll make myself available.
Yeah.
You are? No, for tomorrow? I mean, for Thursday?
I can, but it's. if you-
Joan
Yeah, it's
said
kinda
she,
short notice for me.
Joan
I
said
guess
she
something-
would do it. Joan said she would do it on Thursday if Mary Beth could not. Is that okay with you?
Oh, use it too. I am available on Thursday, but you can do it if you'd like to.
If you want to.
Oh, Joan,
Come on,
don't jump for the prize.
make an executive decision here. Which one
No,
of you would?
Joan can do it.
Okay, Joan and I'll do it.
Okay. For interviews Thursday, or Well,
How are you going to review the candidates?
that was my question, thank you.
I would like to review I would like to review the applications.
Oh, all right, they're available immediately, so, I mean,
You said they were on Carol's desk, didn't you say that?
Yep, I printed them off, they're in email form, so I can get them to you. So, Mr. Fox, you were looking to have a sit-down with another board member to go through and bounce ideas off one another. Yes, this
Yes.
looks great. Yes, that might be a concern.
Yes.
Okay, all right. When you do that on your own,
You don't have to be there for that.
Oh.
Joan and I could do that on our own.
of course,
Want to set a time for Thursday morning to do that?
What time of the?
I was hoping to have the interviews, if we could have them make the calls this morning and get somebody in here for a Thursday, or if that's too short a notice, next week. Would set a time, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
If you can email the 6 that you have to me, I can do it today or tomorrow.
I can review mine. I'll pick up the paper copies because I like to write all over them and scribble, and so I'll pick up paper copies, and Joan will review hers.
Yeah.
So if we do that, I can contact Joan. So why don't we set up a meeting sometime on Thursday to start the interviews?
Okay.
That's
I'm
what you
happy-
wanted.
Oh, I'm happy to call them. Do we want Carol to call them? I'm happy to start dialing the phone this morning, sending out the emails, so.
Well, who's actually going to do the interviews? Joan, Peter, and you?
Rich. Yes.
And of course, the town administrator
Sorry.
is invited, absolutely.
I may pass on that, but it depends on my schedule.
Okay, normally we don't have the administrator. You're the hiring authority.
I think back to my last 2 hires. Greg sat there with a big smile on his face and was happy to be there, so I guess I'm,
If
Three's
that's okay,
company, I'm
I'll-
good.
I wouldn't hold it up for me. I have a couple of meetings this week, but if I'm able to sit in, I'm happy to do it.
Right.
Oh.
Well, if we could have a discussion, I was thinking the second half of the day is when I'd like to do some interviews, maybe 2:30, we'd start them,
Pick a time.
starting them at 2.
That's good with me.
Thursday at
Thursday?
2? Okay.
Carol, Mr. Chairman, you're good if I give these folks a call? Will you,
Yep,
okay, all right.
yep. You schedule them. That's okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, excellent. Fingers crossed, and hopefully it's not a torrent of rain on Thursday. Thank you.
You're okay with Thursday at 2? Okay. Okay. Under old business, item 3A, combined job descriptions. At our last meeting, we agreed that we would review the 2 job descriptions that were forwarded to us by the personnel director. I've made some notes and have some suggestions or comments. Has everybody had a chance to look at them? Okay. Why don't we start with the first job description for the clerk for permitting, licensing, and code enforcement? Why don't we just go around a little bit and we can ask Mr. Ruda some questions or clarify some things for us?
The ones that we got by email were marked up with changes, were they not? Or was that something else that I saw? So we can see, this is the new one, but we don't see the changes that were made from the old one?
We haven't made any changes.
The only change that was
Okay.
made that I think I brought up, Mr. Chairman, at the last meeting was, let me try to remember. It was very minor.
I believe we voted on the title, it was preferred candidate.
Oh, that's right. Yep, that was the change.
That was a minor change. It was just the wording at the very last page, under education experience, and it says preferred candidate. The original wording did not say that.
Correct. I think the copies that we have here don't reflect that change. I'm looking at it.
No, mine doesn't.
Does yours say preferred?
No.
Mine
Okay.
does not.
Mine says preferred candidate. So if you want to note the,
Okay, so that, I'm positive that that's the only change that was made from this version that we have here in front of us.
What should that be, Mary Beth? What should that be paid?
The preferred candidate.
So,
Preferred.
Oh, this one does.
so under education and experience, where it starts off a candidate for the position, for this position, you'd strike the A and replace it with the preferred candidate for this position.
correct.
And that gives us the ability to work a little bit with
Yep.
someone who we think might be a good match.
Okay. Joan, you want to make some comments about some of the thoughts you had on this job description?
Yeah, for one thing, under job environment, Jonathan,
Okay?
in the middle of the paragraph, it says, employee uses judgment to analyze specific situation to determine appropriate actions. Would that be like whether he should come to a decision or whether he should speak to the building commissioner or ZBA board?
So what that means, I'll give you an example, is because we don't have a full-time inspector or full-time inspectors, let's say, for example, somebody came in, filled out the paperwork for an inspection, and technically a check should accompany that paperwork before you schedule the inspection. Maybe the clerk is familiar with the person who's filling out the permit and says, okay, bring the check, I'm gonna still go ahead and schedule the inspection, even though technically you're supposed to have the check first. It gives the clerk a little bit of leeway, a little bit of judgment in order to make the office function correctly, as opposed to being hamstrung by not being able to exercise any discretion, judgment, that sort of thing.
So if there was some type of an argument or discussion with the builder, he would decide whether he should speak to the building commissioner first.
Right, he or
I
she would
know
make
he's-
that right.
I know he's not full-time, but he can get in touch with him.
Oh, yeah. But if, for example, he or she couldn't get in touch with him, it gives that ability for the clerk to make a judgment call. I mean, the clerk would obviously know the individual requirements of the different inspectors, what he or she would what the inspector's tolerance level would be for paying for the permit. I'm just using that for an example, but I think it's kind of inherent in any clerical or administrative support position that he or she knows what his or her boss would allow, generally under normal circumstances, and it gives the ability to do that, to exercise independent judgment.
My concern was this is going to be a new person, probably because it's a new position, and they wouldn't know exactly at the beginning, so they should contact, until they get to know.
Right, and I think that would
Process.
go towards the new candidate's ability to use judgment. If he or she is not familiar with what they should do in that circumstance, then they should make contact with the inspector. But then going forward, he or she becomes familiar with
Yeah,
how to operate, and going forward, they have the ability to make that judgment call.
okay. And I also had questions under the essential functions, where it says, keep meeting schedule for planning director, planning board. Shouldn't that be Board of Health? And the planning director and planning board should be on the planning, highway, and conservation job description?
Which one are we under? It was a lot of copy and paste here, so
Okay.
there could have been an error on my part.
Right down there.
Keep meeting schedules for... Yep, so I would strike planning director. That should fall under the second job description
Yep,
And the planning board,
and planning board, and that should remain, keep meeting schedules for inspections and ZBA.
That's being replaced with inspections?
So we're gonna replace planning director and planning board with keep meeting schedule for inspections. I think
okay.
that was the issue, right?
And this person is also going to be doing the Board of Health? It doesn't say that in the job description
Well,
title. It says the position summary right at the top. It says
Okay.
Building Department,
yeah.
Zoning Board of Appeals, and Board of Health.
I'm sorry, could you say it again? We're looking at permitting, licensing, and code enforcement?
Yes, and under position summary, right below that,
Yep,
it says the duties for the Building Department, Code Inspectors, Zoning Board of Appeals, and Board of Health. So that would include the Board of Health meeting
Correct.
schedules.
correct.
Okay. And number 2, at the bottom, it says keeps records of all planning activities. That's, in my opinion, that should be on the other job
Yep,
description.
so we can replace planning, strike planning, and turn that into inspection activities?
For building, ZBA, and Board of Health.
So I would leave that keeps record of all inspection activities and provides summary information as requested.
Okay,
So because if you go to number 4 under that section, it covers ZBA.
okay. I see that.
Okay,
On number 6, it also says provides liaison between the public of all land uses, including the planning board and
And
Conservation Commission.
so we can strike planning board and conservation commission.
Yep.
I apologize for that. And leave it with zoning, ZBA, and building officials.
Number 8, it also says prepare a variety of correspondence and materials for planning director and planning board.
So I would take planning director out, and I would put Board of Health agent.
Okay,
And I would strike planning board and turn that into Board of Health.
okay. Does anybody else want to say anything? Because I have a couple more.
I
Oh,
think
keep
you're on a
going.
roll.
Keep
Yeah,
going.
Keep going.
big catch.
This is why I brought it here.
On number 10, oh no, actually, yeah, it is number 10. It says opens daily mail and distributes and telephone coverage of building and conservation office. That should be ZBA.
Building and ZBA, okay, yep.
Number
11, it says conservation, should be appeals.
Conservation officers, yep.
Building and ZBA, okay.
And number 12, it says planning zoning issues. That would be more, well, the zoning would be the appeals.
That was ZBA. Delete planning.
Okay,
Are there any Board of Health
Hmm?
workshops or seminars?
Yes, and include Board of Health seminars.
okay.
Is that number 12? Yes, so that's what you're going to add Board of Health to.
Yep.
I am done.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
I had pretty much the exact same things highlighted that Joan just talked about. The only other one is when it talks about physical requirements, it says employee seldom lifts up to 10 pounds. Is that a little light? Should that be 50 pounds, 40 pounds? 10 pounds is hardly anything.
Or maybe seldom lifts over 10 pounds. Whatever
50
the number
pounds is pretty heavy.
25 pounds.
I'd be fine with that. Seldom lifts over 25 pounds, I would say. 50
Okay,
pounds is pretty heavy.
all right. Yes, I know. I think about my wife at the post office.
Yeah.
50 pounds.
Right,
Okay, so we'll change that to 25?
works for me.
I echo Joan's comments. Obviously, it looks like we have the same highlighter. Mary Beth?
I don't have anything else.
Rose? Jonathan, anything you want to add to that, or?
So, on November 4th, we're gonna have one of two firms come in. I'm hoping to get two firms. One of two firms come in to the Board of Selectmen and make a proposal to do the compensation study, and I'd like to see if I can get the Board of Selectmen to approve, not necessarily hire and declare a vacancy, but at least approve these positions so that they can make this part of the compensation study, both of these positions, so that we can assign a classification and pay rate.
Okay, I would not object to submitting to the Board of Selectmen at least this job description until after we review the second one, subject to the changes we just talked about today.
Okay.
You're okay with that?
Mhm.
So,
I make a motion to approve the Town of Dudley job description for the position of clerk, permitting, licensing, and code enforcement with the changes that we've made today.
I'll second.
all in favor? Aye. So we approve subject to the changes, and Jonathan, if you would give us a copy of the final job description that's going to be sent to the Board of Selectmen, we'd appreciate that.
Okay.
Okay. Job description number 2. Clerk, Planning, Highway, and Conservation. Everybody had a chance to review that one?
Yes.
Joan? Joan,
I
why?
have nothing to change. You can pass down the line.
I read them over, but I did not pick up on anything that I would change, but I think you've got a very great awareness of it with your work in the personnel office for all of that time.
Okay. On the second page, that item number 12, determine, explain, and distribute applications and forms for Planning Board and Conservation. Should that be in there, or should that come under the other job description?
I'm missing a page.
Item number 12, second page.
My second page doesn't look like that. I'm missing page 2.
Okay.
I believe it should stay
It's
in
all
this
bullet
one.
points on this one, correct?
Yeah,
You believe what?
I
No,
think
that's
it should
page 3.
stay on this one.
Stay on this one.
Right, because it is Planning Board and Conservation, so.
Okay. Physical requirements, 10 pounds, change that to 25?
Over 25?
Yep. And I just want to clarify that this position works under the supervision of the town administrator, reports to you,
Correct.
okay? This position is also going to take over parks and cemetery departments. What kind of feeling do we have for how much time that this responsibility would be required for this new position? Michelle does it right now. And how much, I believe it's periodic, when cemetery needs a function performed, that Michelle does it, but does that normally take 5 hours, 10 hours, 15 hours? Depends on the circumstance?
I would say 5 hours is about accurate, from what I've observed anyway.
Okay,
Sometimes it's a little bit more depending on the
situation.
project. Sometimes she gets involved in trying to determine older burial plots. She's trying to remap the cemeteries, so I'd say 5 hours is fairly accurate.
Okay. Rose? Carol? All set? You have a motion on this job description?
I'll make a motion to accept the job description for clerk, planning, highway, and conservation with the changes that were just made.
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. So, Jonathan, you're going to want to present these to the selectmen at their next meeting? Or meeting coming up,
Meeting coming up on the 4th, November 4th.
November 4th. And when do the evaluating committee come and make their presentation?
So it's the same night,
Same night?
yes. Yeah.
And if the selectmen do not approve these, will that hold up the evaluation?
It shouldn't, because it's an evaluation for the town hall as a whole, employees, so.
Okay. All right.
I mean, if they didn't make the change, if they didn't accept these positions, it would be hard to explain, because then you'd have to pay to have these positions evaluated down the road if they're accepted.
Okay, now at that meeting, do you want personnel to attend?
I think for both proposals, if you'd like to send a representative or have the whole entire board come, it would be probably beneficial to have somebody there.
Okay, I for one would like to be there in case somebody has any questions to ask about our Wade study, or if a selectman would ask any questions about the job descriptions on whether we approved it or we didn't approve it. It would show the people doing the evaluation that we are willing to work with them. If they need any information from us to complete this study, I think we should cooperate. The study, I think, is important. I thought the study we did is important, but maybe if we can work together and maybe if we can help with their recommendations, we'd be glad to do so.
Okay, can I ask a question, because I think I'm being steamrolled here. We're changing job descriptions, which may combine clerks doing different positions. And as I understand it from the last meeting, jobs could be eliminated, right? If we combine this clerk with this clerk, duties. Is that correct?
There is two things. There's that possibility, and there is also opportunity that anybody, when these jobs get posted, anybody in town hall has the right to bid on that job.
Mm-hmm.
For example, Carol could bid on a job. She could bid on any job. Ted could bid on a job, any job. The ZBA clerk has the same right as anybody else. And I think what this is doing, this is taking advantage of utilizing skill base, where employees can do multitasking, which I think is beneficial to the town, because
We did that a few years ago when the budget was cut and people had to absorb different duties. If they weren't busy in one office, we'd send them to another office so that they didn't hang around. And I'm all in favor of that.
so am I.
The only thing that bothers me at this time, for the last year and a half, we have seen every clerk in every department come before us. We spent a lot of time going over job responsibilities, duties, changing job titles, and increasing their wages. We haven't let the dust settle yet, and we're upheaving everything again. And I am in favor, I don't mind going forward with these new job descriptions, new job duties, et cetera, and being prepared if down the road somebody leaves and we're gonna combine jobs to make better use of people's skills. But I'm a little concerned about upheaving everything that we just did.
The thing that was fundamentally wrong is when a department head came to us with a sole purpose of trying to give people more money. And they changed the job descriptions, and they tweaked it, and they did this and that, and people got raises. And then we wound up in a can of worms, because 2 or 3 people got a raise, and nobody else got a raise. So then we decided we're gonna have a wage study to see where everybody stands, and is there a way that we can fix this and bring people up to fair market value? And now we have a new study coming along. This intent is not to give people, this intent is to clarify the jobs more than it is to try to get somebody a pay raise. That's not the intent of this. The intent of this is to, and I understand the administrators, I understand the approach, because it's trying to be more flexible to make sure that we have enough coverage within the town hall offices so that when somebody comes in the building, we don't have the blinds closed.
Well, the intent of the former town administrator was to get people a decent wage so we could keep the good people that we had and attract new people when necessary to hire new employees.
Yep.
Now, I'm all in favor of utilizing people. I don't like to come in here and see somebody chit-chatting with this one for a half an hour. So using people in a lot of departments and making them able to multitask, I'm all in favor of that. But I'm concerned about if I don't know how fast you're gonna move on this.
Well, I absolutely understand your concern, and I have I don't want to rip through and start get into a situation. I'm not going to be in a situation where I'm just laying people off in order to create openings to fill combined positions. The only position that we have right now this is a great opportunity right now between the Board of Health and the inspections office, because there's a vacancy. When we moved Jen over to the water and sewer department, that created a vacancy in the building department. And right across the hall, there's one position that does reduced schedule 15 to 20 hours a week that we're paying benefits to. So to me, that's the golden opportunity to make that position combined. In terms of the other one, I mean, there's no race to the finish line to combine that position. I just want to be ready to react to it when and if the time comes. I just think that we stand a better chance of retaining people if they have something to do 40 hours a week, we're paying benefits 40 hours a week, and they're making a decent wage all in one, as opposed to the kind of patchwork that we have, where we have some people work 3 hours a week, some people work 20 hours a week. That's a liability to the town. I mean, it's helpful in some ways, but in the big scheme of things, when we have somebody who works 3 or 4 hours a week, we're liable for a lot of other things that we kind of forget sometimes. We're liable for unemployment. We're liable for adjusted benefits. I mean, the way we're doing business now does not support the mission as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
We
I
have to
can
have
see your
somebody.
point, because if you have a full-time employee gets benefits, full benefits, and that's a cost to us, that's a fixed cost. And if we have part-time employees, we're paying them part-time vacation, part-time bereavement pay, and unemployment should they get laid off. I understand that. So going forward in that direction, I understand. But I was just concerned how fast you had planned to move along on these positions right now. I can see your understand, and I can understand what you're saying about the first position with the Board of Health and all that. But I was just concerned, because I would hate to see people lose their jobs. You know, I mean, we just talked about this, a couple of months ago. And, you know, I understand that a lot of people were concerned, and that's my concern.
Okay, I shared at the very first meeting those same concerns. And what we did at the end of that meeting is that we agreed to review these job descriptions and send them back to the town administrator with any changes, so that at least we knew exactly what these two job descriptions meant. I do know firsthand that a demolition of a building took place on Saturday that had hazardous waste in it. And there was a gentleman whose company is from Connecticut came in to get all the proper signatures and the proper permitting and this and that. And he was able to get everything signed with the building inspector through Ted to make that happen. Had we had not combined building with Board of Health at that time, that would not have happened, and that man would have gone home empty-handed. So there are definite advantages to having this done. We have had contractors come in saying, well, I can't get anybody to sign this, I can't get anything completed, and I can't move things along speedily. I share your concerns, but if I sit back and I say, we're still trying to give everybody equal opportunity to bid on any job that they want. For example, the treasurer collector's position was just posted. Any employee who wanted to could have bid on that. We have water and sewer superintendent, that job posting is probably coming down very quickly. People can bid on that job. We're not trying to take opportunities away from people, but we still have to, we can't always operate the old way. And combining these positions helps us go in a new direction. You just said that you favor skill base. I favor skill base. Mr. Ruda knows when I first read these, I was a little reluctant at first, but I did say I would review it, I would look at the pros and the cons, and I think it's a good move to go forward. We're not trying to hurt anybody.
I understand
It might be opportunities for some people, should they want to bid on it.
I wouldn't propose to move forward, Mr. Chairman, on both positions right out of the chute for that very purpose. I would like to at least start for with the one that's vacant right now, which is building and Board of Health.
Okay, but our commitment to this meeting was to get back to you after we've read the job descriptions, and we've made some changes, so we've met our commitment to that. And we voted yes on both job descriptions. So now you can move forward with whatever next step that you think you have to take. I know you just said you would like to have this at least approved through the Board of Selectmen to go to their wage committee. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
There's a lot of moving pieces here. I mean, it's not, from my perspective, when we post something internally, the first negative response I get, just a little bit of inside baseball, is, oh, that's a bag job, that position's going to him or her, and that's the end of it. There's no discussion about it, that's a bag job. And I'm more on Mrs. Smolka's side in terms of, I want to make the opportunity available internally. It's not a bag job. Everybody, like Mr. Fox just mentioned, we just posted an internal position at a decent wage. It pays as well, if not better, than some of the other positions here. And we didn't get any internal candidates. It's not a bag job. Nobody applied for it. That's the bottom line. So, you know, then we're trying to assign a salary and pay grade to these positions, and we can't get a compensation study through. There's a lot of moving parts before we move forward and even think about filling these positions. But I want to be ready to move.
I have no problem with that. It's better to be ready than not ready, so I
Right.
can see your point. Because if something comes up, you don't want to be scrambling, oh, we got to do this, we got to do that, and it just delays appointing someone. So I have no problem
I
with
agree
that.
with what the administrator just said. I was, in all honesty, we just posted a job. We did not get one application from internally, and that surprised me, because when I looked, there was opportunity for some people to probably get a raise out of this,
What job was that?
treasurer collector, Amanda's job.
Well, do you think that the person in the job feels that she's doing the job? So she doesn't have to apply? Did it ever occur to you?
Okay, but if somebody wants to apply, when somebody puts in a application for a job, an opportunity, what that really does, it gives them a right to sit down with the department head and find out, what does this entail? What is the salary range going to be? What are the pluses? What are the minuses? And then that person can decide, yes, I want to keep my application in. They can say, no, it's not really what I thought it would be, and then decide they don't want it. But in this particular case, we didn't get one application internally. Not one.
Which is kind of confusing.
And that surprised me a little bit, because I thought there was some opportunities here.
So if an outside candidate comes in, that's a real top notch.
Mm-hmm.
He could get the position.
Absolutely.
Well, nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Correct.
Correct.
There's a glass ceiling for every position, the way I look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Even my position, there's a glass ceiling, obviously, for it. So if there's between the compensation study, which I think needs to bring people into parity with what other people are making in other positions, in other municipalities, between that and the internal opportunities that exist, you know, like you said, nothing ventured, nothing gained. That's what it boils down to.
Okay, next question, next
Okay.
item.
All right. I'd like to go out of order a little bit, and I believe under Personnel Director's comments, the reason I would like to go out of order is it's now almost 5 minutes of 10, and I believe another board has a meeting right after us.
Okay.
And that would be, you have an article that you're going to put on the town warrant.
So the town clerk has gone through a bylaw codification company, and they've looked at all of our bylaws to make sure that they're all compatible, the language is the same, there's nothing that's incompatible, they're still, everything meshes. One of the things that we looked at, and I sent it to KP Law, was how my position, which is fairly new, the personnel director, being the town administrator and the personnel director, meshes with the personnel board. And so we've sent that through. They've proposed some changes in the language that makes it more of a cooperative situation between the two of us, as opposed to the personnel board having all the authority, because the existing bylaw doesn't address the existence of a personnel director, and they've proposed some language changes. It doesn't necessarily change the authority of the board, but it makes it work with the existence of a personnel director. So I'd like to send that out for the personnel board to take a look at. And if there are any questions or concerns, we can certainly address
Have you
those
looked at it, Joe?
over the next few weeks.
Have all of you looked at it?
Yes.
Are there any questions?
It's more of a cooperative relationship as opposed to,
No, all the changes make sense for what the intent is.
Okay, then do I have a motion to accept the article as proposed?
I just have a question.
Sure.
Next year, is the article going to be to abolish the personnel board?
no, why does everybody keep saying that to me?
Because it looks like we have no duties.
You, I don't even know how to answer it, Joan, really. The article is to make it work together. It makes it more cooperative. It makes it, for example, the function of the personnel board that decides for non-union employees, the personnel board looks at grievances for non-union employees and makes final decisions on that. Now, it goes to me, and I have the ability to refer it to the personnel board. It just makes it work together, as opposed to ignoring my existence and going over my head to the personnel board. Now it comes to me first, and then I make the referral. If I can't resolve it, then it goes to the personnel board. That's just an example of how it would work. I don't know.
Okay, I have asked Jonathan on multiple occasions, what direction do you want the personnel board to go in? I asked him many times, are you trying to eliminate the personnel board? And his answer is no. He says he's trying to streamline it so that we can work together. That's the answer I have.
Okay.
It is so absolutely useful for me to have this board weigh in on these job descriptions and show up at a selectman meeting and say, we weighed in on it, we made our changes, this is why we think it's a good idea, and to get everybody else's perspective, than to just have me out there going it alone. I have absolutely no intention or desire to eliminate the personnel board. I just want to make it work. We have to find a way to make it work between
If we
my
can work
position and the
together.
board, correct.
Joan?
I'll make a motion to approve the article as presented.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, I'll skip through this for 5 more minutes. Under new business, item number A, water sewer superintendent posting and interviews. The water sewer superintendent's job. Carol, do you know when that comes down?
I believe it was last Thursday.
It's
It was last Thursday. I need to remove it
It's
from the
been,
bulletin
it's
board.
been closed. I do not know what applications we have. I will see Jennifer. I can't imagine we have too many. I think,
It was posted internally?
yes. Yes. Treasurer, collector's position, posting and interviews, we just settled that with Mr. Carmignani's. Jonathan, any other comments under director's comments?
No, I think I've commented enough.
Okay.
Caused enough suspicion and damage for a day.
Personnel board member comments.
I have one important one. Performance evaluations usually go out in August or September, and I asked Carol, and they have not been sent yet. So I think that should be done as soon as possible, which Carol, well, when I was in the position, I used to do it. Has Michelle taken over, or?
No. No, we haven't gotten that far yet.
So
If
Carol?
that's something we should be doing, then
Okay.
you advise me.
It's important to realize when performance evaluations are actually separate from merit increases and COLAs. Two separate issues. People always say, oh, I have evaluation. The first thing that comes into their mind is money. But money is a separate issue from somebody's performance appraisal. So I don't have a problem going forward with performance appraisals. However, I would not approve going forward with any merit increases whatsoever or any discussions of money until after decisions are made about wage studies. But I don't think we should hold up performance appraisals.
The trouble with evaluations is people don't know how to do them. They just don't. It's easy to say everybody is fine because you don't get any flack from the employee. But maybe there should be some kind of a training to tell people what they're expected to do on these evaluations. We get evaluations, everybody's excellent. Nobody's excellent, they just came into the job. How can they know everything about it?
Right, and I agree. An excellent rating, a 5 rating, means that there's absolutely no room for improvement at all in the position. You've done such a great job that I cannot even think of a way for you to improve the way you do things.
That's right.
That has to be the exception rather than the norm.
Absolutely correct.
But-
Rose and I have been arguing that for years. When I get an application that says distinguished across the whole board, I just want to throw it back to them. I'm not even going to look at it. So, okay.
Mr. Chairman, before we adjourn, that reminded me, I was thinking about it over the weekend, I need somebody, and this would be the perfect role for the personnel board, to take over my evaluation, because it's inappropriate for me to handle all the facets of my own evaluation. Is that something that the personnel board can manage with the Board of Selectmen, schedule it, and kind of manage the process through?
Whoa.
Well, who evaluates you now?
The Board of Selectmen.
Board of Selectmen.
And you want us to do that?
I just want to be hands-free. I'll give you my job description, I'll give you my, my contract, and
Okay, you're
I had a hard time connecting with them.
looking for our input.
I'm looking for you to manage the whole process, to schedule it with them, to say
Selectmen
it's
wi-
time to set goals, time to do progress report, time to,
Selectmen willing to do that? To give that up?
well, they wouldn't give up the evaluation, but I need somebody to manage the process, to
Like
tell
we
them,
would be
to
showing them.
notify them that it's time to do the TA A, B, and C.
Do you want us to evaluate you and give them our recommendation, or should they do that themselves?
No, I want you to
Remind them that it's time?
I want you to be the administrative function, like I would be the administrative function internally during the day to make sure the evaluations are getting done. I need somebody to take that over for my evaluation, because right now, I'm in charge of my own evaluation. And I don't think that's probably a place that I want to be.
Any
So-
comments?
I don't know,
Did this
Peter,
come
it's
up
in your
the,
court.
Meeting? That's another time.
Yeah, we're
Yep.
holding these people up. What?
Yep.
No, go ahead, Rose.
No, I said he
I'm not
he
due
said
for
he
anything
wants
till
us to
December
take it
3rd,
over.
so-
I said it's in your
Okay.
court.
Oh, it's in my court. What's the board's pleasure?
We can give them the way that we think it should be done, but whether or not they're going to do it that way is another thing.
Well, they need the reminder in the notices too, when it's time.
What's your pleasure?
Do you need a motion for that?
Well, we can do, I'm not due till December 3rd anyway, so. we can
Okay,
put
let's,
it on to the next agenda.
I'd like you to think about that, and we'll make a decision at our next meeting. And in fairness to Jonathan, he needs a decision from us also, because we can't hold him up through the process. It'll also give us a chance when Lorna comes back also, so, does that satisfy?
Works for me.
Okay. I'll have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Carol.